Panel distraction, follow the green rabbit. I'm Ignacio, co-founder and CEO of Bondex, the fastest growing Web3 talent network in the world. And we have an incredible panel today with amazing guests. We have David from Tron DAO, he's Director of Ecosystem Development. Brady from Hedera Swirl Labs, the company who's behind Hedera. And also Josh, the CEO of Yellowheart. And without further ado, I'll get started on everyone kind of giving a little intro about their company. Dave, maybe you can run us through, what is Tron DAO?
What is Tron DAO? Well, our mission is to decentralize the web. So really at our heart, we are a layer one blockchain. And but we're also a very diversified Web3 company, really, when you look at it. So in addition to layer one, we have a layer two, we have cross-chain. We're in GameFi, NFTs, and other areas, but really we're also often referred to as the stablecoin superhighway, as nearly 50%, probably at this point over 50% of Tether trades on Tron, and probably over 25% of the total stablecoin market is transacted via Tron as well. So we're really working to become the global settlement layer. We've recently had TRX and USDD, which is our stablecoin, become legal tender in Dominica as well as St. Martin. So yeah, we're continuing to build out, becoming more well known throughout the world.
I think you guys are, mavericks in the industry, and some of the people pushing the envelope and adoption in the space. So thank you for all the contributions you've made to blockchain so far. And next,
well,
Josh.
You're welcome. No, that's really Justin. Justin's been doing a great job over the last couple of years. He takes a lot of heat sometimes, but really, when you look back over the last year and a half, last 2 years, he's made some very smart moves, and it's really working out.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you today. And then Josh, can you tell us a little bit about Yellowheart? I know that it's one of the coolest NFT platforms I'm seeing out there, but tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, great to be here. Yellowheart is a ticketing platform that is fully decentralized, which uses a variety of Web3 attributes from the tickets going out over the blockchain, using NFTs for ticket stubs, using smart contracts for deployment, and not only enabling venues and artists to issue tickets direct to their fans and build communities with those fans, but we also enable other ticketing companies to instantly be using NFT tickets through a white label solution. So we're trying to fix or really evolve an industry that's been very stagnant for a long time, where event ticketing has been a very boring, pedestrian, it's a proof of entry, it's a receipt, a barcode, whereas teams and artists, productions, Broadway, they have a community generally built in, people that might be going to see Coldplay or going to see a football game, and those communities are never really fully brought together because there's no means, whereas everyone is holding a ticket, and through the ticket we're able to build communities. So we're trying to reimagining what ticketing means around live, and using the best in class technology today also, because of course we all know that blockchain is great for eliminating fraud and counterfeiting and rooting out bad actors and identifying good actors who could be rewarded. So trying to just kind of build today's version of what ticketing should be.
Incredible. I love this use case for Web3. I think it's, a real world use case that's tangible, that people can use when they go to a concert in real life. Like, it's very tangible. I love that use case. And Brady, on to you. Tell us about Hedera. Tell us about Swirl Labs.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. So Hedera is an open source public distributed ledger. We're a leaderless proof of stake network and carbon negative. And the types of applications that have been building on Hedera recently are Web3 native applications, as well as enterprise focused applications. So everything from DeFi and NFTs on the Web3 side, and the ecosystems that exist in that realm, to things like supply chain applications or legacy finance that's trying to get into more DeFi-focused financial systems, tokenization of assets, things of that nature. The Hedera network is governed by a group of large organizations, nonprofits, Web3 companies, enterprises, large educational institutions, large number of orgs that are sort of acting like a DAO to perform governance on the network, while the network itself is built by members of its community through Hedera improvement proposals for things like standards, certain code-based changes, things of that nature. And then Swirlds Labs is the organization in which I work for, and we're an independent organization that helps grow the ecosystems on Hedera and foster application development, and even contribute back to the code base and the product in many cases.
Love it. Thank you very much for that introduction. What an amazing panel we have today. And Danny Brown, it's good to have you back again from Upland, and tell us about Upland. Tell the audience, what is Upland for those who missed your live stream?
Okay. I hope I'm coherent, because I was invited to an 8 a.m. panel and you guys changed the time on us, or we changed the time on you. The daylight savings, not you guys. So I'm pre-coffee, but I'll try to be coherent. Hi, Danny. So glad to be back here. Upland's it's a new, we call it the Web3 Metaverse Super App. And it's a big boom name. And let me maybe explain quickly the layers of what makes it so. So Upland is a Web3 metaverse, or some people call it a Web 2.5 metaverse, because we don't have an externally traded token and we're regulatory compliant. But it's a metaverse mapped to the real world that's both on mobile and on web. And beyond being an immersive economic and social layer of users of the internet, where you have an ecosystem that we have both social and economy itself, and a layer of interaction between the users in terms of assets and identity. Being mapped to the real world gives the metaverse context, both through people and communities. So communities, for example, would take over an Upland neighborhood in New York, and brands who want to have their actual location in. And the metaverse super app aspect is, by definition, by the way we've architected the metaverse. So many of the metaverse experiences you must have run into, when they work with developers, for example, they tell developers, okay, come build something in our metaverse using our tools. Upland is different. It came in to say, we're gonna open up the world to Web 2 and Web 3 developers, our world, through very simple REST APIs, where users of Upland, and we have 3 million users and over 300,000 unique landowners, which means unique wallet holders and NFT holders. They can roam around the world, see a cool building and walk into it, and that is the gateway to a different experience that devs created. And it could be a game, it could be another metaverse, a meta space, and users take with them to that experience their Upland identity and wallet and assets. And again, what we're seeing in practice that's happening is that communities even come together in the context of an Upland community, like a node, or Brazilians who took over created Little Brazil and Queens, etc. And all of a sudden are participating as a social group in those games, in those experiences. So it's basically building the new frontier of both social and economic interaction. So it's very exciting.
Thank you very much for that. And so we have a very diverse group of people here from different verticals within the Web3 ecosystem. And, I kind of want to start by saying we're obviously in a pretty, I would say, I like to call it a build market. It is time to put our heads down, focus on really useful cases of Web3, And to that end, I think this is where the tough get going and the best companies get built. And to that end, I actually think it's never been a better way to get into Web3 professionally and as a career, because this is going to be way easier to find the quality projects and companies to be a part of. They're going to be the next iteration of the internet. And to that end, I want to open it up to talent in your ecosystem. So Dave, if you can give us, a little view of what are some of the things that, you guys look at Tron when you hire? What are some of the key aptitudes and skills that you look for?
Yeah, great question. I think it depends on the role. And over the last year, we've actually done quite a bit of hiring. Just to kind of set the stage, my focus is only in the U.S. for the most part. So when I speak about our hiring, it's only what we've done in the U.S., not what we've done in the rest of the world. And in the U.S., over the last year, we've been really hiring for. We hired a lot on our marketing side as well as on our ED side, or ecosystem development. And where the areas we've been building out are really areas that will foster growth within the community, right? We want to be more connected with our community and have a higher profile, through that community, expand the community. So we've really been looking for people that have experience in building large communities, connecting with kind of like-minded individuals, and bringing them together to really get them excited about our mission.
I love it. That's a great answer. Josh, I'd have the same question for you. What are the types of talent that a Web3 ticketing company and NFT company needs to succeed?
So, of course, just like every other company, we want people that are brilliant. We want people that are passionate, people that would do the job really without getting paid, if you could actually find that. But in Web3, it seems to be a lot of people who are just so passionate about being in the space. What we found has been pretty interesting. Whereas in 21 and 22, we were super engineering heavy, where we were building product, we were heads down, we were testing, user testing, doing proof of concepts. We were out, building and getting the product ready for scale. Now, what we found as a company is this year, our needs have greatly changed. Whereas the product is built and ready for scale, obviously we need to maintain it, but we're moving as a company to be less heavy on engineering and moving more into business development and marketing. So it's pretty interesting where the team up to date has been super Web3 centric. And deep in the space, very, very, very much. And now the company is expanding to actually bring in people from the industries that we're trying to serve, from the live event industry. So, suddenly we have people joining the staff that maybe are not as Web3 native, but bring expertise in the field that we're trying to crack into. So it's a dynamic shift at this moment where, we had to have obviously engineering and everyone super deep in the space to get the product where it needed to go. But now we need people that are connected and have years of experience in the live event space in order for us to scale into that space. So it's been really a fluid process.
I think that's how you enable mass adoption and those people that come in from Web2 and traditional fields into getting, doing that business development, that sales of Web3 products into the mainstream, right? So it's super important for the ecosystem.
It really is. I'll add one thing to that, which has also been pretty cool, is that, of course, I'm out there and other people at the company are out there looking to make hires. And it's always interesting from the traditional, live music and sports industry, who raises their hand saying, yeah, I'm into Web3. So I found random people that, they're part of Friends with Benefits or part of this, and they who are in the space, but kind of didn't have that going on at the company they worked at. And they're suddenly happy to join a company that has other people with those interests.
That is cool. And that also points a good point, which is, I think when people are looking for jobs, and this is for the audience here, you should look at what are you interested in, what is your skill set, and what stage is the company at? Is it in building stage? Is it in seed? Is it in scaling mode? Because depending on that, you will have a better chance of succeeding and matching what your skill set and what you're looking for with what a company's looking for. So I think that brings a great point. And Brady, on to you. What you can take it from Hedera or from Store Labs. When it's such an ecosystem play, I know the answer is right, but what are some of the skills and aptitudes you guys look for when you hire?
Yeah, so for me personally, and for what we're looking for, Swirls Labs, like I said, we're a contributor to the Hedera network. A significant amount of engineering folks building products that support various ecosystems, also contributing to the code base, and we've got folks on the marketing side as well. And one of the important things that at least I've seen or tried to look for is folks that are ingrained into the space already. So those people typically have large networks of folks that are users of Web3, kind of similar to what Josh said, so people who had networks that are part of Friends with Benefits or Crypto Boys Club or any of those that exist, Developer DAO. And we're seeing that when we hire people that are ingrained in the space, obviously they have to meet the skill set requirements in order to fulfill the job. But there's this aspect of what's called boundary spanning. And it's this idea of these people's networks that allow information to flow to these external groups and back in. And so there's two things that end up happening with that. The first one is it creates ideation. So in an emerging technology company, you want to have people within your organization bringing ideas into the org. And it's incredibly important from an innovation perspective. And then the second part is information about your organization and about your tools and what you're building and what you're offering is going to be sent external to the organization into these other groups that are outside of it. And so, one of the things that I look for is, like I said, obviously the skill sets required to fulfill the job, but also people that are integrated into the space, are playing with some of these technologies, some of these products. The space is emerging right now. It's incredibly incestuous, and you want to try and have all of the feelers out as much as possible. And so people that are doing that, I think, are really important.
I love it. And so just for everyone to hear, what are some of those platforms where crypto native people and Web3 people can go? So you mentioned Friends with Benefits. What is it? Developer DAO? What are some of these communities?
Yeah, Crypto Boys Club, Benefits, Developer DAO. Honestly, the best thing to do is most of crypto that's in the space is playing on Twitter. And so kind of going onto Twitter and starting to find different groups, different people, different organizations. And if you find something that you're interested in, sort of just pulling on that thread and continuing to pull on it and see where that leads you is probably the best advice. And maybe starting out with sort of like discussions about a specific project maybe that you're interested in. So if you're a fan of Uniswap or something, you go on Twitter and start to do a search for people that are talking about that, and you can start to join in on conversations. And just following whatever your interests are and offering good conversation with others is probably the best way to do that.
Well, I hope the audience took down some notes on those kind of communities and outlets for BD. And Danny, on to you. What do you guys look for in Upland when you guys are expanding your team?
Well, obviously different parts of the team. Were about 110 employees. Half of us, or over 60, our engineering team is in Ukraine. So the Ukraine team are basically just looking for kick-ass engineers. That's in Ukraine. That's what they do. And when we're looking more at the community marketing, business development, we have a little bit of a different approach. I don't necessarily believe you need to be a native Web3er in order to be amazing at your job. I came from in international relations, and economic development background back in 2017 when I went down the blockchain rabbit hole and worked for layer 2 hardcore infrastructure projects before I came into the metaverse space, which is completely different because it went from a B2B working with enterprises, convincing them to come to build blockchain projects, to come to this B2C world that's like half gaming, half economy, and immersive social network. So in order to make those sharp transitions, what I look for when I make a hire is someone who, even when they're an expert in what they do, have a mindset of a generalist and are not so stuck in their ways, that the way they think allows them to see the bigger picture, make fast and good decisions, and understanding that you need to do things differently. I'll give an example with marketing. Anyone who's doing B2C marketing knows that UA has basically been broken by Apple in the past year. I'd say since last May. UA worked in one way. You've had expertise in UA, and the algorithm in terms of privacy changed, and all your regular channels, basically Meta, in terms of user acquisition, simply do not work. And you had to have a very good marketing leads that are very data driven, understanding what's happening, and are now reinventing the wheel in terms of, okay, what are my new channels? How do I experiment? Doing quick A/B testing, and not clinging on to their old ways. In terms of the community and some of the other hires that we've done, we've actually found them from our player community mostly, which is the most exciting thing, because
Super
no
cool.
one gets what we're doing more than players who are every day. We have 35,000 DAUs interacting with our smart contract and the metaverse, and that level of immersiveness and understanding. The ones like my dream hire are the ones who like yell at me on Twitter. It's like, when are we doing this, and this on? When is this and this going on production? We need to fix all of those things. And when's Upland doing this? So those are the people I want to hire. And it's very exciting when we do bring a community member into the team.
That is so cool. I think that brings a few points. One is you got to be able to have a flexible mind, right? Because the space changes so much. You need to think outside of the box. You need to change with whatever the pace of change is just so fast that you need to be very adaptable. Number two, it's never been easier to be so connected with the management of a company that you can actually get their attention through community channels, and maybe that way get hired, right? If you have good interactions with them, good ideas. That's also something that didn't have. If that's something that LinkedIn, it would be very hard to do, right? To get that visibility. So that's also super cool. And now, to the panel, I want to ask, the final questions to each one of you, which will be, how does your company work? And what I mean by this is something that excites me very much about Web3 and the ecosystem. You come from different verticals, but it's very attuned to the future of work. It's usually, flexible workflows models, distribution globally. So in order to manage these new kinds of companies, I want to know, how does the company work? So Dave, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how does the Tron workforce and team, work with each other? How does the entire company is organized?
Sure. Yeah. Well, as you know, we're a global institution. We cover a variety of time zones, and there needs to be flexibility in that, because there are often calls that need to take place across multiple time zones, and people need to be flexible. But at the same time, we're pretty much all work from home for the most part. We do have an office in San Francisco in the US, but other than that, we're pretty much distributed across the US, from Florida to California, even New York. I'm in Chicago. So we have to be pretty flexible, and we're open to hiring people in any location. And actually, right now, we are looking for US-based devs. So if anyone's on the call and they know Solidity, feel free to reach out.
That's very cool. And as I was saying, any tools that you would recommend that the company uses, if you're allowed to say, so that to keep
Tools?
people on the live stream on the same time zone?
Well, we communicate a lot via Slack and Telegram, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But
I mean, every company is different, right? And they have, and it's just we're a talent network, so for us, it's fascinating. How does everyone keep their own engine running? And everyone is built differently, right? We use Slack, at Bondex ourselves. And Josh, maybe you can tell us about Yellowheart. How does the team work? How do you build your company? How does it work?
So, similar to what Dave said, we're fairly distributed and we're remote. Where we have people, not everywhere in the world, but in Asia, Europe, South America, North America. And, once again, communication's key. The company really goes 24 hours a day. Our devs are in the US and in Asia. So, the days, technically the week kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern, on Sunday, which, I'm New York based. So there's just always fluid. So communication is super important. And, same what Dave said, Slack, internally, Telegram externally is super important. It's a major tools that we use.
Thank you very much. And Brady, let me target the question a little bit more. Are you guys distributed as well globally?
We are, yeah, globally distributed
So
team.
what are some
Our
of the-
headquarters is
where your headquarters?
I'll go for it. We're based in Dallas, but it's a small percentage of the team that's based there, and then everyone else is very much so global, all the way from Australia, certain parts of Asia, Europe, US. I'm based in New York also.
So what are some of the best practices the company does to have a good culture and a good, remote and distributed kind of workflow?
Yeah, so I mean, we heavily take advantage of Slack and Zoom for meetings, and then for sort of text exchange for fast communication. A lot of the sort of ways of trying to keep culture going is through, I think, channels that offer greater flexibility and people being able to be themselves and express themselves. So we have a memes channel, for example, or a degens channel, various types of channels that allow people to express themselves through text. Like you have to give people ways of being able to be who they are and have fun. And so, I think we're finding that, these various types of channels are good ways of doing that. We also try to set up sort of regular virtual meetups between different teams across the org. So we'll do like lunch and learn sessions and try and distribute that across different time zones. We do regularly have a monthly all hands calls. What else? Mental health days sometimes also, actually. We'll meet up and learn about something, and everyone will have the day off. I think that once a quarter. It's not like every Friday or anything, but yeah.
That's super cool. I think one of the challenges of this new type of economy and workflows models is how do you keep culture when everyone's remote? So virtual meetups and those type of practices are super cool. And I think they're pretty innovative, from Web3 companies that, again, I think we're essentially pushing the envelope on this. And Danny, I'd love to know what are some of the practices that you guys do at Upland on how you work?
So we're pretty spread out. We have an office in Silicon Valley and Mountain View. We have an office in Vegas, and of course, a lot of our team is in Ukraine. And we also have an office in Brazil. So it's pretty spread out, but there are in the main locations places to go physically if you wanted to, where I would say it covers 80% of the company, which is nice to have. We have our actually one of the funnest things we started doing was until this year, the employees were not allowed to play Upland or to be Upland users. And we worked out, the devs worked out a way to have a special account where we have a special badge, so we're recognizable, and there are different restrictions on what we can do to make sure we're not participating in any competitive activity against our users, but we're more together, just to understand the product better and the day-to-day of the product. And that has actually created another layer of this community feel, like where we all decided, like all the employees decided together to take over a specific neighborhood in LA and buy metaverse land there and build structures. And we have there are different resources in Upland. So you see in the channels like, okay, who can spare me some Spark to build my building? And that actually made the experience very nice. We also have one of the things we're most proud of, and we work on a lot, is we did a few big fundraisers with our community in support of Ukraine, and now we do them also monthly internally in our employee groups. So when those things are just like working towards a social cause together, makes the team very much more connected and integrated. I think in distributed teams, and this is not unique to Web3, but in distributed teams in general, the right communication from the leadership team is key, because there's so many discussions that are happening that are in a way siloed from people who are not at one of the offices, and you want them to feel at any given time like they know exactly what are our goals, what are our priorities, how is what they're working on connected to that main priorities, both in terms of like KPIs and OKRs. So we try to do a quarterly OKR planning session with the leadership, and then make sure to present it to the rest of the company, and also have for the founders and for the leadership team a monthly sort of like open office hours where our schedule's open for anyone from any department to just like schedule a coffee and talk about anything they want in the company. That I think is super important. Web3 related is the fact that all employees, not just the founders and the leadership, get called out by the community in or participate in the Twitter and Discord discussions with the community, do AMAs with the community. So we really try to bring even a dev and product who work on the car racing in Upland. So it doesn't have to be the head of product who comes and talks to the community about it. It's like, okay, let's put the team that actually built this in front of the community to explain what they worked on and how it's going to work, and answer questions from the community. And I think that's a very Web3 culture thing that you don't see anywhere else.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. And thank you to everyone who's attended, and to this fantastic guest for giving us a view into how their companies work and what type of skills to look for. I hope everyone's taken down their lessons of, what are some of the best things you can do if you want to work at one of these companies. And once again, thank you. If you guys want to, quickly say goodbye, and where could people reach out to you? If you can start with the same direction, Dave.
Sure. Bye, everyone. If you need anything, you can reach me at dave@tron.network.
Anyone that wants to reach out, josh@yellowheart.io.
Brady?
I'll go next. Anybody that wants to reach out on Twitter, it's at BMGENTILE, or Brady@swirldslabs.com.
Yeah, Twitter
And
is.
we're hiring some product managers right now, actually. Sorry, interrupted you.
Oh, I have some good ones for you. I'll send them your way. Twitter is the best. Danny H. Brown, DANNY HBROWN. And also in general, we haven't officially announced it yet. I think it's coming out early next week together with GDC. But we are having our yearly hackathon that anyone, it doesn't matter what you build on, Unity, Unreal Engine, you're building a game, you're building an experience, you can participate in our and compete in our hackathon for prizes. So being a hackathon winner is definitely a really good way to get involved with the ecosystem and future hiring opportunities.
Well, thank you, everyone. And again, I encourage everyone watching this to check out, TronDAO.org, Hedera.com, YH.io, or Upland.me check out their career pages for all their open positions. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic week and weekend.
Bye. Thank you.